So you just bought a new Laguna IQ, Grizzly, similar product, or even an Axiom, and you're wondering, how the heck do I do feed rates? How does this thing work? Well, I have to say, I bought this machine not long ago, and when I got it, I didn't get any owner's manuals, I didn't get any literature whatsoever, and getting help from Laguna was kind of hard. Had to wait a few days for every response. So what I did meanwhile is I did a lot of research online, and I wanted to share that with you guys, because if you buy one of these machines, this is stuff you kind of need to know how it works. And it's pretty simple once you know how it works, but if you don't, it could be baffling and it'll drive you crazy. I had a few instances of issues that I'll go over that I couldn't figure out. Finally figured them out on my own. But so you got a machine, you fired it up for the first time, you got your Rich Auto, it's the Rich Auto, I think that's in focus, A11E controller. Any machine that has this controller, this should work for. And I'm going to go over some stuff. So you just fired it up. We'll start from scratch. So I'm going to turn off my controller, turn it back on. So this is what you see. You see the Rich Auto system loading. It's pretty fast. And it asks you right away, do you want a home all axis or the Z axis only, or no home? So we're going to just hit OK. It's going to home the X, Y, and Z. It'll move to the front left corner. And the homing switches on this device are really accurate. I was really impressed with them. I ran some micrometer stuff on the corners and the homing consistency, and it was right on. It was like right on, like it would return to the thousandth I left it at, right on the money. I was really impressed. Some homing switches, they vary a few thousandths. These are spot on, really impressive. But after you get it home, you want to know how to move the machine. It's real simple. You have your X, your Y, and your Z, and you have your X plus, Y, Z plus, X minus, Z minus. So you can just press. So we're going to go Y plus first. We'll get it to the middle of the table. And then X plus puts it in this direction. So Y plus is back, X plus is that. It's just like a graph paper. And then Z plus obviously up, Z minus is down. And you have two settings. You have a high and low setting. Low is indicated with this L. In low setting, if you hit the stop cancel button, you can see all your low speed settings, and you can override those. If I hit run pause and I enter a number, it'll change that. Mine's set to 3000 for X and Y, and Z is 1200 millimeters per, I think that's per minute. And then if you go back, so if I move now, it moves slower, you'll notice. And then if I hit high, you'll see it goes like F. I think that's full speed, I'm not sure. But if you hit stop cancel, you'll see these are my rapid settings. So X fast is 4500. When I got the machine, it came, X fast was set at 5000. And what I noticed is every now and then when I travel in front to back direction in the Y axis, the machine would lock up. And I think it's just by design. They have one ball screw in the middle. That speed is just pushing it a little bit. I talked to the service techs about that, and they said, yeah, you don't want to run it that fast, but this baffles me why they set it that way from the factory. On my machine, I was quoted that this had 300 inches rapids, but you know, the motor could probably run 300 inches, but the machine can't. Maybe in the Y, but definitely not in, or maybe in the X, but definitely not in the Y. So this is what I set it at. I haven't used the machine a ton, but I haven't had any issues with these settings, and it works pretty good here. The other motion settings you have is, yeah, you can hit mode. Mode's this button right here, and that puts you in step mode. So step mode by default is, if you're on low, you change it to low, it's 0.1 per button press, and if you hold it, it just goes 0.1 at a time. And you can do that in any direction. But if you hit high, it goes 0.5. So if you look at my numbers, they're moving 0.5. And that works real good. You know, it's for like dialing in a corner or something. And then you have, if you hit mode again, you have a distance. And you can enter in the number for the distance. And then when you click it once, whoop, if you, let's say 200, and you hit OK, and then you hit it, it'll move 200 millimeters in whatever direction. So we could change it. Oh, I hit the wrong button. So if we come down, nuts. We'll pause that. So if we hit mode and we enter 100, so when you hit mode, it makes you enter the value. So so it's gonna move 100 there. And then if we hit mode again, it goes back to just hold the button. If you tap the button when you have it in jog mode, if you tap it once, it goes 0.1. Even if it's on high, I think it goes 0.1. Nope, it goes 0.5 on high. So it makes sense because if you switch it to step mode, it does the same thing. So, you know, that's your movement. It's really pretty simple. I'm used to Mach 3. I'm used to a lot of CNC controls over the years. I ran Fidals, Hyundais, ESOBs, Bernies, Strippets, you know, Fanucs, you name it. I've had experience with them all. So figuring this out, the hardest part about it was finding literature online that went into the details of the settings in the menu. So when I got my machine, I had an issue. I was experimenting, running some programs. The salesperson told me to use the Rich Auto Post for Vectric. And when I talked to the tech, he goes, no, don't use Rich Auto. Use the Laguna, I believe it's the Laguna IQ HHC post in Vectric. The Laguna IQ post in Vectric will give you feed rates in the G-code. The Rich Auto post doesn't give you any feed rates in the G-code. They both work. I haven't really tried a full-on program with the Rich Auto post, but what's weird about this control that's different than most all other controls except Bernie's that I've used in the past is that when you go to run a program, and I'll show you, I'm going to jog it back a little, put it in the center of the table here. And this is kind of neat. It's a feature, so I'm going to set my 0 there. I'm going to set my XY 0. Whoop. Let's see, that should set my XY there. Okay, XY 0. I don't know what mode I was in, but it wouldn't let me set my XY 0 there. So I hit cancel, and now everything's zeroed out, X, Y, and Z. When I want to run a program, that's going to be my 0 point that I set in Vectric or Fusion 360 or wherever. But what's unique about this is I have two programs in here that go down an inch, cut a rectangle, and go back up. One program is programmed with the Rich Auto Post, which has no feed rates in it whatsoever. The other one is programmed in the Laguna IQ HHC post for Vectric, and it has feed rates for down. And I have my feed rate set at 100 inches a minute, which is 2540 millimeters. And I have my Z down is 254 millimeters, which is 10 inches a minute. So I'm going to show you what happens when you go to run a program. You hit the run, pause, delete button. It's going to ask you where you want to run it from, and then you hit UDisk is the USB chip. You hit OK. Then you pick your program. My test 1 is, I believe, my program with no feed rates. It could have feed rates. You know what? Let's check this. So I think if we go, there's a way to check your G code. I think if we go to menu, it's probably operate file. And then we say view file. Then we could go to the UDisk, pick this, and now we can scroll through our G code. And this one has feed rates. So my test 1 has feed rates. You see here it says G1 Z minus 25.4, F254.0. So we're gonna run that. We're gonna run that one second. So we're gonna come here. We're gonna go run pause because we want to run a program. We're gonna pick UDisk, We're going to scroll down to test 2. Test 2 has no feed rates. You know what? I'm going to show you test 2 first. So if I go in the menu, I go to operate file, and then I go down to view file, and then I pick my UDisk. Oh, and I'm moving through the menus by pressing X plus and X minus. That's up and down. And I hit OK to select things. So now we're on line 1 of Rich Auto post. It's saying G0, it's telling rapid Z19.304, and then it's saying G0, XY, Y0, X0, Y0, and it's telling us to rapid the Z again a little higher. Then it's telling us to rapid the Z to 5 millimeters. Then it's saying a feed move at that point, and it's telling us to go down an inch. And then it's telling us to feed in Y direction, 3.2 or 203.2 at that depth. And then it's going to say X and Y. It usually gives you an X, Y, and Z for every move. So this is the one, as you can see, there's no, oh, maybe you can't see, there's no feed rates in it. So we're going to exit out of here. We're going to run that program. So we're going to go to, oh, hit the wrong button there. I got to get back to the main menu. We're going to run UDisk, OK, test 2. And when you run a program, you're going to come to this page. This is real important. This is your set work parameter page. When my machine came, it only read feed rates from this page. It didn't read them from G-code. It refused to. It wasn't set up for it. And that baffled me. I'm like, what is going on? You know, it was really weird. But after reading and learning some stuff, I found out that the set work parameter page, your work speed is your feed rate. So when it has an X move and a Y move, it runs at that feed rate. So let's go and let's set that. So we're going to hit run pause. We're going to enter a number. We're going to enter, our work speed is going to be 2540. And we're going to hit OK. So that's 100 inches a minute. So now when you go down, this is our rapid speed. And I have it set to 4,000. And our speed scale is kind of like speed override on another machine. It is a percentage of what you want to run your machine at. Say you're cutting a part and it's cutting too fast and you want to slow it down. So as it's cutting, you're going to hit, I believe it's Y plus and Y minus, and that's going to change your speed scale. I'll have to try it when we run this. And it'll go down in 0.1 increments. So 0.9 is going to be 90%, 0.8 is 80%, and so on. You can't go above 1.0 though. That's the hang up. So if you want to cut 110%, you're going to have to set up your speed so that at 80% or so, you'll be running at full speed. So if I wanted to run 100 inches a minute, I would have to set my work speed like if I wanted to run 100 inches a minute 80%, I'd have to add 20% to the work speed and then run this at 80%, and then I could change it up and down. I could add another 20% to my program, if that makes sense. So that's the only drawback. You can't go over 100% of the speed that you set as your work speed. So if you want if you want the option of cranking up your speed, maybe you want to set your work speed at 50%. Like you would double this number and then run it at 0.5, and then you can adjust, from there. But that might be extreme. And then the other setting, and real critical one, which didn't make any sense to me at first, but fall down. So fall down is your Z-axis plunge speed, and it's important to note because it took me a while to figure that out. So I'm going to set my fall down, and that's a percentage as well. So you'll notice when we run our G-code, our Z-axis plunge speed is going to go down at 254 millimeters, I believe, per minute. And then when it hits the bottom, it's going to go 2,540. And I'll show you that. So these are all the parameters in the set work parameters page. There's your feed rate, your rapid, your speed scale, which is your speed override, and 1.0 is 100%. And then your fall down is your Z-axis plunge speed. So we're gonna run that. All we gotta do is hit OK. Spindle's gonna kick on. And if you hit this mode button, you can cycle through the things down the bottom. See, there's our speed. I cycled to speed 1, so it's running at 254. Now it's switched to 2,540, and you can see it's doing the box. And if you hit the mode button, you can cycle through the name of the program, the time it's been cutting, the line number, and that's that. So that's how the feed rate works in the control. You don't need to enter any feed rate in Vectric or anything. You could use this if you wanted to. It works good. It is kind of simple. It really takes some of the troublesome stuff. You may enter a wrong number for your feed rate or something, but if you have these settings set right, you have nothing to worry about. But then again, a lot of people are used to running G-code with feed rates. So I'm going to show you how you'd have to set that up because it's confusing. So we're going to go back to the main menu. So we're at our main menu and we have to go into the settings. So we're going to go menu. We got to scroll down here to Auto Pro Setup, hit OK. And then we got to scroll down to G-code setup, and we hit OK. And the first line is feed rate read from program. And if we hit OK on that, wait, I didn't. You got to hit run pause on that. My fault. My machine came. It said ignore feed rate, so it wouldn't recognize any feed rate in the control. It just ignored everything. So if you scroll down here and hit read feed rate and hit OK, it'll read the feed rate from the thing. So just for example, let's run my program with feed rate with this turned off. So we're going to come in here, we're going to go and we're going to say ignore feed rate, go back to the main menu. We're going to run from our UDisk the first test program, and we're going to set our work speed to something different. We're going to say run pause 3000. Okay, and it should give us 300 for the Z-axis down and 3000 for the cut speed. So we're going to switch our mode to speed. So see, as it comes down, it's 300 and 3000. So we're going to stop that. And here's a feature you might want to know about. If you pause the program then hit stop, it's going to ask you, do you want to save the break? The break is like the point that you stopped it. So if we hit save, I think you can save up to 9 breaks, and you could resume this program later on if you want to, but we don't need to. We're going to discard that. So now we're going to go back into the menu. We're going to go down to Auto Pro Setup. We're going to scroll down to G-code Setup, and we're going to hit run pause on FRead, and we're going to go down to read feed rate. So now you see it change. We could hit stop cancel, get out of here. Now we're at the main menu. We're going to run pause. We're going to pick UDisk. We're going to scroll down to test 1. That's my program with the feed rate, and that's the Laguna IQ HHC post for Vectric. We're going to hit OK. Now in here you see I got 3000 and 4000 for the rapids. It's going to ignore the work speed, but I don't even know what it does. I think it uses the rapid speed that you have set here, but it will, this fall down speed is real important because you would think it would ignore all these work parameters, but it doesn't. It takes the fall down speed. Fall down speed is your Z-axis plunge override when you use G-code. So if you want the machine to run your Z-axis plunges at the feed rate in your G-code, you have to change this to 1.0. So we're going to go 1, OK. And I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to show you with it and without it. So we're going to hit go. So spindle's kicking on. We're going to change change our mode to speed. So right now it's at 254. That's what I have it set in the G-code. And then it's going to go 2540. Even though it's set at 3000 in the set work parameters, it's running the G-code speed. So this is something that baffled me. I had a really hard time wrapping my head around it, because what I was doing, and I'm going to show you, what I was doing is I was running my G-code file, and I was setting my, I wasn't changing my fall down. So I was having 0.1, and watch what happens now. So it's going to do 0.1 at 254, but for some reason there's a setting, and the slowest speed we could go is 100 millimeters per minute. And you're going to see that. It doesn't run at 25.4, it runs at 100. And that's 10%. Well, it would be 10%, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to run it, and you're going to see the feed rate. See the, feed rate's at 100. And that's as slow as the machine will run. I'm sure there's a setting in there that you could change that slow speed, but I haven't located that one yet. So it's running at 10% at 254, but the slowest speed in the machine is set at 100. And I'm going to change that to a 0.5 so you can see. So we can pause this, cancel. It's going to ask us if we want to save it. Nope. So now we're going to go back to the main. We're going to hit run, UDisk. This is the program with the feed rate, and we're going to change that to 0.5. So we got to go to run pause, 0.5. Fall down is 0.5. So that's our Z-axis override when we're running G-code with feed rates. Okay, so now we're going to hit OK. So it should run at half of 254, which, doing math in my head, is like 127. So let's see what happens. So it's rapiding to the start. So 127. So it's using 50% of the programmed feed rate into G-code. Oh, there it is. And that's going to go to 2540 when it goes to the other moves. So that's how the feed rate works in the G-code versus independent. And you got to remember that if you're going to use, so let's cancel out of here, discard, break. If you're going to use, let's go run pause. So UDisk. If you're going to use a program with, or a post like the Rich Auto post with no feed rate in it, it's always going to default to this, even though you have read speed from G-code turned on in your settings. So you got to remember, if you're going to use feed rate in the set work parameters, you have to set your fall down where you want it. And typically, if I'm running 100 inches a minute, depending on what I'm cutting, I might cut 20 or 30 speed plunge. But if you're cutting any sort of metal or something really hard, you may want to go slower. So in this case, we'll go let's go 0.1, and it should go 400 millimeter plunge, which is probably, it's around 17, 18 inches a minute, I think. So hit OK. And we gotta get the feed rate up here. So it's at 300 millimeters. And the speed's at 3000. So wait a minute. Is that what I had set? I'm losing track here. It must have been set to that in parameters. Okay, run, UDisk, test 2. Yeah, it was at 3000. So it was 300, and I was looking at the fast speed. My bad. So just so you know, if you use the work speed in the set work parameters for your feed rate, don't forget to set fall down. Oh, and let's do this. I'll show you this real quick. So when you run a program, we'll run the same program. We'll run the one that calls the feed rate from the work parameters. So we have everything set up. So the machine starts moving. You see here, this 1.0, we're gonna slow it down by hitting Y minus. See our feed rate change? So right now we're at half the speed. We're at 50% of the feed rate just by pressing Y up and down. See, when it gets to 1, you can't go higher. So whatever you set your speed at in the set work parameters, as high as you could go. So say you're cutting apart and you're like, man, I want to crank this thing. You have to adjust your feed rate before you start the program. So if you wanted to run a program at 100, but with the option of maybe running at 150 later on, you would have to set your program at 150 feed rate, and then you'd want to slow it down when you start the program. And the way you slow it down again is when you go to run your program. So you would go run program, work parameter, you're going to start your speed scale, and you'll change that to, like, let's just say 0.6. And when we start the program, you'll notice it's already at 0.6. So, you know, it's 180 millimeters right now. If we kick it up, whoop, wrong button. If we kick it up, you can hit Y plus. So now there's full speed. So, you know, you have options. So let's cancel this. I want to show you guys one more thing. These are just things that I wish somebody had made a video for and showed me when I got this dang machine, because it's frustrating. You get a new piece of machinery, there's no literature whatsoever. And I know these machines are made in China, they're shipped over here, and they slap their stickers on it, and you know, they call it their own. Maybe they do some tweaks to the design or whatnot, but you know, invest some money in some literature and videos. I mean, it's kind of crazy that, you know, there's really nobody doing videos on this stuff. This is a good machine, albeit it runs slower than what they claim, but it's a solid machine. It's real accurate. It runs on ball screws, but this is kind of neat. So my machine came with a tool setter. Obviously they didn't ship it in the package. I had to call them and let them know. But so this is a 1, 2, 3 block. If you're a machinist, you're familiar with these. I'm looking for my calipers. So here you go. These are Mitoyo calipers. They're really good ones. That's a 1, 2, 3 block. That's 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3 block is 1 inch thick, 2 inch wide, 3 inch long. That's what a 1, 2, 3 block is. They make ones that are solid with no holes, and then they make ones with holes. You know, I'm not familiar what people do with the holes, but whatever. So when I got my machine, I tried my tool height. So first thing you want to do is you want to test this thing, make sure it's working. You plug it in up top. I'll move the camera so you can see. Right here, there's a red plug. I just leave it plugged in all the time. And this has got a little metal surface underneath. It's kind of a chintzy part because this is like plastic. You know, it's not a solid metal one. Like, I have a CNC router parts machine, and theirs is far superior. This one is kind of silly because I can't even measure the overall thickness because my calipers kind of fall in the hole in the bottom. You know, I could try and get pretty close, but let's see. We got to measure it in metric. So this says like 25.5. But there's a way you could set up. So when I got my machine, I tested it. There was this wasn't programmed into the control. There was no numbers in there. So I had 0. When I used this, it programmed my tool to the top of it, which was silly. You know, I had to set it up. So the best way I found to set it up is using a 1, 2, 3 block. You can use paper or whatever if you want, but first thing you need to know is, how do you use this thing? So you got to hit menu and on off at the same time. And watch this, the Z-axis just starts going down. And then when it makes contact with that, it sets it. So my Z is it's going to be set at like right here. So if I scroll down my Z, you'll see mine is set I have it already set up for the thickness of this, so it's going to be a little bit below where I actually set it. But regardless, I'm going to show you how to set that up. Oh, excuse me. So, say you had a 1, 2, 3 block and you want to set the height of this. And so when there's a setting in here, and I'm going to show you where it is. You have to go to Menu, Machine Setup, scroll down to Tool Set Setup, and here you could set the thickness of your puck, and you could set your tool set speed. I ended up changing my tool set speed, so mine's at 500. It was a little faster than that when I got it, but I noticed when it was coming down, it was making contact with this. It was a little aggressive, so I slowed it down a little. And then your thickness is set here. When I got mine was set to 0. So I set my floor, it's the floor height. It's actually the puck thickness, but I set mine to 25.9. It's pretty darn close. So I'm going to show you what you would do if you wanted to set that, so you know the exact number to enter in there, which is it's pretty easy. So let's do this. So if we wanted, we'd go tool set setup, and we'll change this. We'll go puck thickness. We'll go in there, and we'll enter 0. Okay. So right now, I'm gonna set it. So I'm gonna go back to the main menu. I am gonna hit the menu on off. I'm pushing down on the puck, make sure it's making good contact. It's going to jog down, so it just set the height to the top of the puck. So what I do is I'm going to come down, and you'll notice, I'll show you. So right now, this is the 0 it's set it to, which is right at the top of the puck. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to scroll down. I know it's 25.9 about, so I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to change it into step mode. I'm going to change it to fast, so I can go half millimeter down at a time. So 25. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to 25 and a half. Then we're going to switch it back to low, which is going to go 0.1 at a time. We're going to stick this under here. So our 1, 2, 3 block slides under there, no problem. So we're going to go down 25.6, no problem. 25.7, no problem. 25.8, 25.9, no problem. 26. Oh, it won't go under that tool now. So what I would say is we go back up 25.9, and that is our set height. I could almost feel a little drag on the 1, 2, 3 block. So that's going to be the value. I'm going to take this z-axis value, minus 25.9. I'm going to go back to the main menu. I'm going to go menu, machine setup, and I'm going to scroll down to tool set setup, and I'm going to go down to thickness, and I'm going to hit OK, and I am going to go, and I'm going to hit run pause, and I hit 25.9. Okay, so now this is kind of neat. We're going to go back to the main menu. We're going to come over here. We're going to jog it up. Oh, we got to get out of step mode. We're going to jog it up. We're going to put our puck right here. We're going to hit menu on off. And that just set our height. So now we're going to scroll down to 0. Scroll all the way down to 0. And if we wanted, we could tell it to go to 0. But this is fine. And we could switch this. So that's our 0. And if you see, it's just clearing that. So let's go to step mode. Actually, we can go back to low and just tap it once. And it stops. It won't go under. It's 0.1 under our 0. We click up, it goes under. So that is how you set up your tool puck. Of course, then we gotta wind it up and put it up there. So I think that's pretty much all the things I was gonna cover. And once again, anyone that has a Rich Auto A11E, this stuff should apply to it. I wish I had known all these things when I got my machine, but again, the literature's scarce. I'll tell you what, I'll put at the bottom of this video, I'll put the Laguna owner's manual, the Grizzly owner's manual, the Axiom owner's manual, and the Rich Auto owner's manual for the control that I found. And I gotta be honest, the Laguna owner's manual was lacking. Axiom, and I think even Grizzly's was much better, but none of them, and I mean none of them, not even the Rich Auto one, goes into the minute details of all the commands. There are some commands in here that are really cool that there's no information. I think you hit menu on off. Oh, let's not, wait, not menu on off, menu high low. I'm not sure where it is, but you have like all kinds of things. You could do an array, you could do scaling. It might be menu home. There's a whole nother menu in here somewhere, and I'll link those owner's manuals. I even host them on my Google Drive, and I'll share, like, if you buy this machine and you don't have an owner's manual, you'll be able to get it at the bottom of this video. But there's one other thing I wanted to show you, and that is up here. Hold on a second. My spindle drive. The only video I found for controlling the RPM on this was an old router Bob video, and you hit like on off, Z plus, Z minus, and it changes. I think it changes this. Let's see, what does it change? It changes the F number. Well, that don't work. It doesn't do anything. So the way you control your RPM is you change up and down on here, and this adjusts this frequency number. The frequency number is whatever it is times 60. That's your RPM. You know, I guess this thing runs at 60 hertz or something. So if you want to run 18,000 RPM, put it at 300. You want to run 275. I forget what that is. It's 60 times 275. It's like 15 to 16,000, somewhere in that range. So, you know, if you if hopefully this video helps anyone that's looking to operate one of these machines. And also, when you go to run your machine, don't forget to turn on your chiller. I got a warning here for me. Turn on chiller. I have it hooked to a light switch over there, so you know you don't want to burn up your spindle. And if you want to follow me, my new channel is going to be Wade Made. Eventually I'll get some logos up there. I'll be making junk on here, and you know, some other stuff. And here's an old machine that I built. It's a CNC router parts machine. It runs on Mach 3, and I'm currently adding homing switches to it. I'm probably going to be selling it in the near future. But I appreciate it. You know, if you guys like this, you know, please subscribe, and I'll keep producing content. So hopefully this helps, and have a great day, and talk to you guys next time.